Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2025 CaRCC Parade. I am Daphne McCanse. I do communications and outreach for CaRCC, and we have a whole host of other folks that you will meet along the way that are leaders of the various CaRCC groups. If any of you are new to CaRCC, welcome. We're really excited that you're here, and we hope that some of you all were invited by your friends. We asked them to do that. Just before we get started, you can see up in the corner, if you want to access these slides, there's a QR code that you can use to do that. First, we're going to start out, for those of you who may be new to CaRCC, just talking a little bit about who is CaRCC. I don't say what is CaRCC because really CaRCC is an organization of people. It's a community-led organization of professionals from the field of research, computing, and data, or RCD is the acronym that we use. We use that a lot, so you'll get familiar with that term if you're not already. The organization supports career development and helps to improve visibility for the profession. We provide a professional network and many types of tools and resources within the community. The most important thing to know about CaRCC is that it's led by the community itself. We were founded by the RCD community, originally supported by the National Science Foundation with an award from Principal Investigator Jim Bottom. And then currently we still have some National Science Foundation funding. We have a newer grant, the NSF Eager, empowering RCD professionals to broaden participation in the NAIR pilot that is led by Dana Brunson. And we have some funding that is wrapping up fairly soon. That is the RCD Nexus grant, also led by Dana Brunson. Over the years, the 9 years since CaRCC was founded, it has grown rapidly. We now have nearly 2,000 members from more than 405 different institutions, and we have hundreds of active volunteers from universities and organizations across the country. We've established some central operations committees that you'll hear from later that help CaRCC keep the lights on. And CaRCC hired me in 2022 to be one of its first paid employees and to offer central support to all of CaRCC. A main goal and challenge for CaRCC in the coming years is to build resources to fund more central support, something that's become increasingly necessary as CaRCC has grown and become larger and more complex. And if you want to see some of our most active volunteers, you can use this QR code to check out the wall of thanks. So we're excited that CaRCC is growing, but with growth comes some challenges, including an increase in overhead costs. Like I mentioned, we have a need for more central administration. Our software and technology needs continue to grow, and CaRCC thus far has gotten by with NSF grants and informal support from partner organizations. But as we've continued to grow, this just isn't sustainable in its current form. So that is why CaRCC, late last year, at its annual retreat in October 24, decided that we are going to move towards becoming a nonprofit organization. CaRCC is going to take steps towards becoming a federally recognized 501c3 nonprofit that will give us tax-exempt status. And CaRCC is also going to form a transitional board in preparation for this change. The CaRCC chairs also decided that we will work to obtain a short-term fiscal sponsor until CaRCC obtains its own 501c3 status. This will allow us to do some things that we're not currently able to do, such as open bank accounts, fundraise, and directly apply for our own grants. So one exciting thing to note is that the transitional board nominations are open right now. If you or someone you know would like to serve on the CaRCC board, please do nominate yourself or someone else. We're taking nominations through February 4th. folks do need to be actively involved with CaRC in some form. And we have some special category representatives that we're trying to fill, including leaders of track chairs in the People Network, working group representatives, interest groups, and we would like at least one representative that represents an non-R1 or MSI institution. And then we have several at-large community member positions that don't necessarily have to be from one of these groups. But please do nominate yourself. We're excited that this board is getting started. So why get involved with CaRC, or why get more involved with CaRC? CaRC is a great way to expand your professional network, meet others who share your professional interests and are facing the same challenges. You can build a strong professional network very quickly. If you're looking for leadership opportunities, CaRC has an unlimited number of them. We're also honestly just a lot of fun. The groups that I've been a part of, there's a lot of laughter and joy that happens at CaRC events. So if any of you are looking for a little bit of that in the world or in your field at the moment, this is a really nice place to find it. Well, I also want to stress that while CaRC may be growing and maturing, we are still first and foremost a grassroots organization. We want and need new voices and participation from across the entire RCD landscape. So if you want to get more involved, you are enthusiastically welcome. We need you here. CaRC offers a wide range of volunteer opportunities. We advertise both shorter and longer term opportunities. And we are also open to community members suggesting and leading new efforts and starting interest in working groups that are of broader interest to the RCD community. There's a process on the CaRC website for requesting to start a new group if you're interested in doing something like that. Now, when we talk about being a member of CaRC, we typically mean that you are a member of the People Network. And joining the People Network is the baseline way to become involved. This chart sort of illustrates all the different areas of CaRC that you can get involved in. After joining, once you've become a member of the People Network, you can branch out by attending People Network tracks, which you can kind of think of as ongoing conference tracks that happen throughout the year. You can join an interest group or a working group related to a specific topic that interests you. Interest groups tend to be a little bit lower barrier to entry, and they are more discussion based, although they do sometimes create products, but typically the groups that are working to create deliverables, products, and tools that we share with the community, that happens in working groups. And then there's CaRC operations groups. These are the groups that help keep the lights on at CaRC. They ensure success across the network by providing central administration for CaRC. That brings us to the People Network, and I am going to hand the baton over to Bob Freeman, who is co-chair of the People Network, along with Lauren Michael.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bob Freeman, and welcome to our CaRC annual parade. I want to talk a little bit about the People Network, and that's probably one of the more common areas that are ways that people come to get to know CaRC. And we're just so happy that it's done so well. So as Daphne said, that the People Network is similar to an ongoing remote conference that supports CaRC's mission. And I've highlighted a few of the bullet points here. I think one of the things that's most interesting and I think advantageous of the People Network is that we do have these individual tracks or facings. But how you're able to take advantage of that, if you could click Daphne, please, is that we have there are a number of ways that you can engage with the People Network. And we have it through networking opportunities with the members. We have monthly calls that you can join in on. There are downloadable resources that you can get from our website and other locations. You can actually participate in the People Network through Slack and email, as well as if you want a more asynchronous engagement, if you're really busy or traveling, whatever it might be. A lot of times we post the track calls on YouTube as well, and you can easily pick those up there. Your first step for joining the People Network is just joining our email list. It's free. You can also opt into any of our Slack channels, and this will help keep you in the loop on CARC events, discussions, and volunteer opportunities. Next slide. We talked about the facings of the tracks, and this slide shows you exactly what that's all about. We sort of divvied up or thinking about CARC and it's the RCD community and how it's not necessarily your job functions, but all the things that you face during your typical day. And that's how we came up with the idea around the facings, and really sort of trying to deliver content or build community around these facings seemed to be the most sensible way that we can address all the needs and the wants and the opportunities for the RCD professionals. And so we've listed a little bit, some examples here. I'm going to go into those in a little bit later. Let me just also say that in addition to the facings, the emerging centers is one example where it's not quite a facing, but we felt it was a definite need to address those RCD services or programs that are very new or starting new offshoots. And then we're also sort of referring to external groups. We are entering in a partnership with the Regulated Research Community of Practice. RCOP will be an affiliate or a partner track. And then for those who are involved in software-related activities, we also want to refer you to the U.S. Research Software Engineers. So each track, the content varies greatly, includes presentations, panels, demonstrations. Calls are completely community run, and we invite you to actually get involved in that. It's also a great forum for celebrating team accomplishments and things that you've done in your program or with your team. And so we ask you to don't be shy. Join in on the calls through chat, through speaking, or putting questions in the doc, whatever it might be. Just we ask you to be an active participant. Next slide. So I'm going to go through quickly each of the tracks very briefly. The data facing track talks about data management tools, curation, curated data sets, the IT infrastructure behind data management, data science, and data sharing policy. I think there's a great opportunity here as we partner with a lot of libraries and, around the US and beyond the US, as well as a lot of the data science related activities at universities. They do meet on the first Tuesdays of each month, and Amy and Deb are the track coordinators. If you're interested, please reach out to them. And I've listed a few example call topics that they've had from last year. Again, it's on the first Tuesdays of the month. Next slide. Strategy and policy facing. If you're someone in leadership or management, this is a great track for you, especially if you're aspiring for these positions as well. And talk about RCD team leadership and management and mentoring and strategic planning, a good practice on budgets, finances, and communicating. They've had a wonderful array of topics. And I will say that the strategy and policy facing also interfaces a lot with CASC and EDUCAUSE groups as well. They meet on the first Wednesdays of the month, and Amit is the track coordinator. There is a spot open, so if you're interested in getting involved with this group, we'd urge you to step forward as well. Next slide. Research-facing track brings together people from the research computing groups, libraries, research institutions, just any group or organization that supports researchers during their phases of the research lifecycle. A lot of people that are involved in the data facing and systems facing as well, but again, the track is community led. They meet on the second Thursdays of the month. I once was a researcher facing track coordinator. It's a great track. They're all great tracks, but certainly I would urge you, because there is a slot available to work alongside Justin. So I'd urge you to reach out to him if you're interested in this track as well. Best track, yes, Justin says. Next slide. Emerging Centers track, as I alluded to, for those organizations that are, yes, Patrick, that are starting new programs or in young RCD centers for research sharing and best practices to be more effective, outreach activities, managing up and engaging with funding organizations. They're also very anxious to get involved with the non-R1 representation for the steering committee and track coordinators. So if you are from a non-R1, I would urge you to please give Patrick and Justin an email, drop them a note, and let them know that you're interested. And thank you for Jason for stepping forward. Our previous coordinator on this one, Rich Nepper, has been there since the start, and he's stepping down. And thank you, Rich, for all of his efforts. Again, on the third Wednesday of the month. Next slide. And our last track, systems-facing track, all things related to in support of RCD, architecture, storage, networking, cluster and config management, etc. Great topic, deep dive on technical things. I always learn something new. Third Thursdays of the month, Brian Hamer, who's been there since the start, and Matt Smith, who joined a couple of years ago. A great track, again, third Thursdays of the month. Next slide. Just to recap why People Network's great. We've had a wonderful year. Last year, 47 calls across all the tracks. We had over 1,800 different participants from 400 different institutions just last year alone. It was pretty amazing. And for the People Network itself, the mailing list, the memberships, we added 500 new members from over 100 institutions last year. So it's been great. We thank you for the community, and we encourage you to join in and drag your work colleagues in as well. So again, join, attend, participate, join the People Network mailing list, attend and participate in any one or more of the track calls. There's a lot going on. So I think the biggest complaint we had from someone was that there was so much good stuff, they didn't have time to participate in all of them. So you can always catch up on YouTube afterwards. Please, if you do feel comfortable, help organize a community call and actually get your colleagues to help. We had one example call where it was organized by everyone in the community and not by the track organizers. So, and join a steering committee. If you are a member in a partner organization, we'd also urge you to talk to us, because we'd love to work with you on partnering for CARC activities, People Network activities, and track calls. So thank you very much. Pass it back to you, Daphne.
Great. Thank you so much, Bob. And that brings us to the CARC interest in working groups. And first up is Timothy Middelkoop, who's going to be talking about the RCD staff workforce interest group.
Thank you, Daphne. Hello, my name's Tim Middelkoop. Michael Weiner and I are both co-chairs of the Research Computing and Data Staff Workforce Development Interest Group. This interest group is a collection of RCD professionals, pre-professionals, and students interested in working in workforce development, either as a manager or supervisor, or as RCD staff interested in developing skills and knowledge and connecting with the RCD community in general. The Staff Workforce Interest Group works closely with the RCD Student Workforce Development Interest Groups, which we'll hear from next. We use a mixture of discussion, idea generation, and small product development. Some of the topics explored in the meetings have spawned working groups, such as the mentoring working group. Our next call, we'll explore what's on your urgent list. This is a yearly call to help set the direction of the interest group. We're also looking for volunteers to work on an RCD resource catalog short paper for PERC 25. We already have great ideas and data collected from the RCD Nexus Day last year. Contact us if you'd like to get involved. As always, join our conversation on Slack, email, and during our Zoom calls. We meet on the second Tuesdays of the month at 1 p.m. Central Time. To join, contact co-chairs Michael Weiner or myself directly, or go to the CARC website by following the QR code. Next, we have Betsy Hillery from Purdue University to talk about the student group.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, we work really closely with the staff workforce interest group, and we're very fortunate to do so because they're a good group of folks, and we've done a lot in the community. So the student workforce interest group really focuses on engaging in students in your campus RCD workforce. So we really want you, because your faculty and staff and are always using students, and to maintain students, it's really hard to understand what motivates the student. What do you need to motivate a student? What should student program models look like? How can you build a successful student program? And then we dig into things like part-time employment versus internships. These are just some of the highlights of what we've discussed in the last year. So who we are, though, we're an RCD part-time, full-time staff, faculty, administration from all kind of facings. So we want you. It's open to anyone that has interest in the topic. Next slide, please. So thinking about what we want to do this coming year, and again, we want to hear from the community and hear what our community needs and help direct some of our conversation. But we also want to continue to grow the group in terms of in membership and attendance in meetings. We want to host discussions that are specific to hiring practices for and processes for student workers, explore more on funding models, because sometimes it's really hard to figure out where is the funding going to come for students. And then training, as we all know, training students can be quite a challenge. So we want to dig deeper into that and understand the aspect of that and how mentors can really help advance your program. And we'll hear a little bit from the mentoring working group later. And then we also want to explore potential artifacts that we can produce for this community, finally driving topics again based on our community, the ongoing community feedback. Next slide, please. When do we meet? We meet the second Tuesday of the month. So we also coordinate with the staff workforce group, and you'll hear a lot about that. If you want to get involved, there's a QR code. And I should have mentioned, my co-lead is Brian Haymore, who is on the call today. So my bad. Hey, Brian, sorry, thanks. I'm done. Move on.
All right. Next up, we have Venice Bayrd from Montana State University Library, who is co-chair of the EPSCoR CI interest group, with Scotty Straken from the Nevada System of Higher Education and Sean Cleveland from the University of Hawaii. Venice.
Thanks, Daphne, and good afternoon, everyone. Just as a quick aside, I want to mention the acronym EPSCoR stands for the Established Program for Stimulating Competitive Research, and it's a program supported by several federal agencies, including NSF, and it's composed at present of approximately 28 different jurisdictions. There's a link on EPSCoR in the lower right of the slide for anyone interested to learn a little bit more about NSF EPSCoR. The EPSCoR CI interest group, our mission is to invite anyone interested in NSF EPSCoR, Cyberinfrastructure, or RCD, to create community and share ideas, practices, mechanisms around CI planning and coordination, visibility, and partnerships, all in support of research and education in EPSCoR jurisdictions. While most of our members work in EPSCoR states or territories, we also welcome anyone with shared interests in our discussion topics. And in 2024, what those topics look like were some of the ones listed on the right here. And as we were starting to engage the interest group and transition from our working group status, most of these topics were things we started to address and will continue to address going forward. Next slide, please. So following on a couple of promising developments during the 2024 EPSCoR national meeting last October, where we had a good showing of the EPSCoR CI Council and Interest Group. In early 2025, we'll be starting off by focusing on conversations with the NSF and the community around formalizing our EPSCoR CI engagement with NSF liaisons. We'll also be addressing how CI or RCD can best be reintegrated into NSF EPSCoR solicitations where it's fallen off the radar in the past decade or so. So more on that topic will be posted soon to our website. So please check back there in late February for more details. And that's what I have for today. Thank you. Whoops, I'm sorry. One more slide. We would be happy to have more people join our interest group. And the best way to do that is to reach out to us either at the EPSCoR-CI-team@carc.org email or individually and let us know that you'd like to join in. Excuse me. We generally have quarterly interest group calls and are planning a public event in March as well. And that really is all I have for today. So I'd like to hand it over to Ashley Stauffer. Whoops, I'm going to hand it back to Daphne.
Yeah, sorry, I changed the order on you guys and threw you off a little bit. So I'm going to actually talk about the RCD Communications and Outreach Interest Group. This is a group that I co-lead with Eric Adams from Purdue is my co-lead on this. Who we are, we're groups of RCD professionals who work in the areas of communications and outreach, or anyone who's interested in the topic. We have been on a little bit of a hiatus, and we actually, after getting started, learned some really interesting things. The group was not what we had expected it to be. We had expected it to have more actual communications professionals, but what we found was we had a lot of folks that were coming hoping to learn about communications or get some tips and resources related to communications from communications professionals. So one thing that we're doing is we're regrouping and starting a working group that is actually going to produce some materials based on initial discussions that we had in this interest group. And then we're going to use those materials to share back with the interest group and with the whole community. And we took a little bit of a hiatus in the late fall last year and are starting up again with meetings at the end of this month. So if you are interested in this topic, either to attend the interest group or to be part of the working group, Eric and I would love to hear from you. So please do reach out to us. And next up, we have the AI Facilitation Interest Group, and I'm going to hand it over to Daniel Howard from the NSF NCAR.
Yes, I'm Daniel Howard. I'm an HPC consultant at NCAR. That's the National Center for Atmospheric Research. We recently found this group alongside Neil Kilgore from Louisiana State University, primarily in connection with a lot of the NAIR activity going on. That's the National AI Research Accelerator Program. This particular group is set to meet monthly. We've only met once before as a group last year, but we're hoping to kick things off again this year. And basically it's meant to serve as building a community of practice space to serve those seeking best practices and resources for providing and developing tools for AI facilitation. Here at NCAR, for example, we have lots of folks trying to use AI, and as someone who supports our broad user base here, there's lots of chatter about how we can best do that effectively for our community, at least specifically in Earth System Sciences, but we hope to bring in other folks across the community within CARC about AI facilitation. So how to get involved, feel free to scan the QR code there, attend our monthly meetings. We plan to have a monthly meeting versus there'll be a working group on AI facilitation materials talking next, but they're more on a weekly cadence. So the kind of intention of this group is to help facilitate that more kind of general community building. And as people come together, perhaps connections are made, people can collaborate with other members of our group and maybe form additional working groups or identify other facilitation needs of the community and share those resources as a group. So I believe our next meeting will be February 12th. And we plan to have some discussions on the active NAIR projects already underway. So if you'd like to learn more, feel free to contact us or join our Slack sub-channel. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Next up, we have the Research Cybersecurity Interest Group, and I am going to speak to this one because the group leaders were not able to make it here today. The group is led by Will Drake, Jeffrey Weekly, and Sid Burrows Schilling. This is a group that is just getting started, but they do want to hear from you. If you'd like to join, please shoot them an email. They are still setting up when they're going to meet and just lining up their topics and ideas. So if you want to get involved with them, please do just send a message either by Slack or email to the group leaders. Next up, we have Ashley Stauffer from Penn State, who is co-chair of the Research Professionalization Working Group, along with Kimberly Graish from University of Chicago.
Thank you so much, Daphne. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Thanks for joining us for the CaRCC Parade today. I'll speak real quickly about the RCD Professionalization Working Group. So throughout this call so far, we've discussed a lot about research computing and data professionals. And the purpose of this working group is to actually start to dive in and better understand the population of RCD professionals. So what are the characteristics of those professionals, their educational background, their demographics, and how do they advance throughout their careers? A lot of this group has focused historically, and next slide, on developing products to help advocate for RCD professionals and also to help managers better speak to and support their RCD supervisees. So for example, we developed a HR job family matrix for research computing and data professionals. We found that, speaking with HR representatives, they didn't quite always understand what RCD roles do and what all is involved in that, which can impact compensation and also level, like your banding level, So we wanted a tool to help managers effectively communicate with our HR professionals. Next slide. Where we are at today is starting to I guess I can back up. When we meet on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern twice a month, so every 2 weeks. You can email myself or Kim to get involved. Our emails are on this screen here. And then next slide. What we're focusing on, I guess I'm missing a slide. Thanks. Go back one more, Daphne. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone. So where we are at today, so we have 2023 here. We're now in 2025. So we kicked off our RCD facilitator visualization working group. And specifically what we're doing in our meetings these days is understanding how to visualize the complexity of the workflows that research computing and data facilitators manage. So who they're engaging with, how often, the type of activities that they're engaging in, and we'll capture data points through developing a survey that will launch nationally. Where we are at today is developing that survey. We're refining a survey that had gone out in the past and working through the IRB protocol and hopefully getting that deployed this semester or over the summer. Okay, that's it.
Great.
Thank you, Daphne. I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks, Ashley. And that brings us to the RCD capabilities model working group, and that is led by Patrick Schmitz of Semper Cogito Consulting, who is the co-chair along with Lauren Michael.
Thanks, Daphne. So the capabilities model has been around for quite a long time. We're building tools both for helping folks assess their capabilities, which is to say, what do you do as a support organization supporting research, computing, and data at your institution? We've also built some portals that allow people to explore the resulting data that we get when people complete those assessments and contribute them to a community data set. So we've been working on this for quite a number of years now. We started out with a simple spreadsheet implementation, and now we've got a web application that allows people to work on it with a more modern UI. We are currently, we should go to the next slide probably, Daphne. So this is where you see the second version of this capabilities model. As I mentioned, we launched it some number of years ago, and then we did this updated version at the beginning of last year. Next slide. This is a view of the landing page for the portal that allows people to explore both the community of folks using the tools as well as the data that they have contributed. into that portal. If you complete an assessment and fill out the contribute your data, you can also do benchmarking work where you compare to your data to others in the community. Next slide. This shows some of the different kinds of views you can get. You can look at map views, demographic charts, a whole bunch of different ways of slicing and dicing the data. Next slide. And this is a detailed view where you get in and you can actually do all sorts of interesting slicing and dicing of the data, where you can filter down to institutions just like yours, or if you just want to explore the data and see what does it look like just at R1s, or what does it look like just in EPSCoR states, and so forth and so on. So lots of fun things you can do with this. We are currently working on some extensions to the tool that allow you to complete just a portion of the assessment, because what we found was that a lot of folks, especially at smaller institutions, or if they just had a limited staff resources, it was a lot of work to complete the full assessment. And so we've developed, through a lot of focus groups and working with the community, a set of what we think of as essential questions, so that it boils it down to about 30 questions, makes it a lot lighter weight effort to complete. And then there's another variation on it. If, for example, let's say you completed an assessment and decided, oh, we got to work on these 5 areas. And then a couple of years later, you said, well, let's go back and reassess those 5 areas. You can now just focus on specific areas of the model and complete an assessment that way. We refer to that as chart your own journey. So that work is ongoing now. We hope to be launching that later this year. And that will then also have benchmarking for all of those things and everything else. So lots of work going on, a lot of exciting things. If you're interested, we would welcome more participation if you're interested in this kind of work. We have office hours on a regular basis. Lauren Michael is my co-chair of this working group. Dana was a co-chair for a long time and helps out. We got a good crew of folks who care about this. We often run some kind of workshops or tutorials at PERC. We love being in the community there. And if you're just interested in playing around with this stuff, please do, and let us know what you think. I probably said a lot of what's on the next slide already, Daphne. So we meet every Wednesday. We got so much going on. We actually do meet on a weekly basis. So there's one thing I didn't mention is that we every couple of years, and this is one of the years we're going to do this, we take a look at all the data that has been contributed, and we do our own slicing and dicing and look for what we see as interesting trends or just interesting patterns in the data, and we write that up. We did this a couple of times early on, and they were generated a lot of interest. One of them got the Associated PERC paper got a Best Paper Award, and we get lots of downloads of those. We're interested if folks would like to contribute to that, and you've got a data analytic background. Do let us know, and if nothing else, maybe review the report before it goes out. So you can see the ways of getting a hold of us there. And the group later says out of date. I didn't update that, so sorry, Lauren. That should say Lauren Michael. Dana was our erstwhile co-chair. And we had a lot of the work on the current versions came out of a subcommittee that John Hickson, Farouk Armani helped lead, and we've now folded that back into the main thing. So that's what that's about. I think that's everything. Dana, Lauren's not with us, I know. She's got another commitment. Dana, did I forget anything? Okay. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. That brings us to the RCD Career Arcs Working Group, and we're going to hear from Sam Porter, who's from the University of Maryland, who, along with Patrick, is co-chair of this group.
Hi, everyone. Sam Porter, one of the co-chairs, and this group, the RCD Career Arcs Working Group, was formed, I think maybe 3 years ago, really with the intent of looking at RCD professionals' influences and their decision-making process, and what were the factors in causing them to either enter the field, make a change within the field, or to leave the field. To that end, this group began by conducting surveys to kind of find out some of those factors and influences, and kind of with the end goal of creating some resources that could be useful both for folks on the hiring or recruitment side, and also for people who are on the career seeking side, those trying to figure out what's next for them or why would they enter this career field. And then one of the ideas was to, with this data, ultimately create some visualizations and develop some personas that career seekers or managers could relate to. Next slide, please. So originally, this working group, like I said, the first couple years conducted a survey that resulted in a paper, and that paper was a PERC paper. It won Best Paper, actually, Best Paper Award. So building on that work, in the past year, we've conducted interviews of RCD professionals with the goal of capturing the factors and starting to really be able to tell their stories, because the stories kind of help bring life to those factors and influences that people can relate to. So we've met off and on, but generally every other 2 weeks for the past 2 or 3 years. And we're closing this work group down within the next month or so. Next slide, please. And the goal is to get a couple blog posts together and papers, potentially submit a paper to PERC based on the findings from our interviews that we conducted. And then we've also been working on a visualization that helps tell the story of how people enter this field, how they navigate through it, and where they can end up. So that's kind of where the work is and what we're hoping to produce in the next month or so. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Sam. That brings us to the RCD mentoring working group, and Alper Kanaja is the leader of that group from Northwestern University.
Right, thanks, Daphne. So good afternoon, everyone. This is the RCD mentoring group. So we are a group of RCD professionals from all career paths and all facings who have an interest in mentoring in RCD community. So the ideation of this group came from the RCD Nexus days, and we formalized from the desire for the community to have an RCD mentoring group. So we formalized this group through staff and student workforce development interest group. And then what we started with to understand, we wanted to understand the state of mentoring in the RCD community. So we continuously went back to the staff and student workforce to get some more community feedback on directions and new ideas. We reached out to other mentoring groups within RCD to see where they are, what they're doing. We looked at resources available to our profession out there. And then all of these actually resulted in that we started to strategize a path towards a community-wide mentoring program, which seems to be desired in the community. Next slide, please. So this year, we will be working on establishing a collaboration with EPSCoR through a formal proposal for our mentoring program. So this proposal has been developed last year, went through reviews, and we are ready to propose this to EPSCoR. We want to start working towards the mentoring program. We want to start building our skeleton group, basically expanding the current working group to include more operational members, and as well as start developing or getting members for an advisory board who will advise on the next steps for the mentoring program. We will continue to curate the practices and resources for the mentoring program, hopefully with the resources as well from the EPSCoR, and we will establish pilots for this professional RCD mentoring program in the coming year. Next slide, please. So our regular meetings, community meetings, will start this year in March, and we will be looking for many new members. So if you want to get involved, so please just email our working group email, or you could directly reach out to Betsy or me to join. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Alper. Next up, we have the Anaconda Transition Working Group, and we have Jeffrey Lenter from Purdue.
Hey, folks. Yeah, my name is Jeffrey Lentner. I'm a data science lead on the HPC team here at Purdue. I am co-chair of the Anaconda Transition Working Group with Carrie Brown from Penn State. And I think maybe this group is a little bit different than some of the other working groups and interest groups we've heard from today. And it maybe represents one of the value that CaRC brings in the ability to sort of organize a collective response to something in our community that faces not one institution, but many. In a nutshell, if you're not familiar with what Anaconda is, it is a company and a distribution for software most typically associated with Python, but has software channels for Python and R, and is over the last decade kind of a ubiquitous in the research and scientific computing communities. We formed this group late last year after changes to their terms of service impacted many centers around the country. And so I'll try to keep this as brief as I can, but we have a few goals in mind, including organizing ourselves and presenting a unified front to have a real conversation with people at the Anaconda company. And we sat down with them in December and had a conversation with a CCO and CTO and sort of communicated what our concerns were and looking for information about their updated terms of service that should be in the next week or so. Next slide, please. So as I was saying a minute ago, something that maybe is a little bit different about this group and maybe can be something that other groups in the future follow in this same kind of scenario is that it's less of an open-ended thing and more of like something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And our main goal was to create these 3 white papers that represent kind of the need to know information and recommendations for how to proceed in kind of depending on who you are. So white paper A is for RCD professionals and facilitators who are working with researchers. White paper B is for users and researchers themselves who may be impacted by this. And then white paper C is focused on institutional and center leadership and strategy. So like how to respond to that. So for 2025, our goal is to see those white papers completed. We have them outlined mostly, but have been kind of on hold until we have another conversation with Anaconda representatives to kind of see where the dust settles there. Next slide. We have a Slack channel if you're interested in being part of that conversation, if this is something that affects you or is of interest. There's a GitHub repo with resources, and notably, I don't want to forget to mention that we have put together a community survey, and we would be very interested in having as many people as possible submit that very, very short survey that just more or less asks kind of how Anaconda is being used at different sorts of centers around the country and how this may or may not impact you. I'll leave it at that. We do meet every Friday.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. And that brings us to Deb McCaffrey from Arizona State University, who's chair of the HIPAA Challenges Working Group. Deb?
Hello, everyone. Yes, so I've had some confusion about this in the past, so I want to clarify. This group is for folks who already have an intimate understanding of HIPAA and think it's written weird and could use some improvement. So it's not so much people trying to figure out how to meet HIPAA requirements. It's for people who are like, this doesn't make any sense. So it's kind of a policy group. And specifically right now, we are working on a response to the proposed changes to the HIPAA security rule that are in the federal code, which you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And kind of that's growing out of this deliverable that we've been kicking around about some sort of white paper with all of our ideas about how this doesn't work with research and weird ways it impacts research. So we started off thinking about a white paper, but now it's like, oh, this is perfect for this rule change. So we're probably going to submit it there. Next slide. Cool. So if you're interested in joining and helping us talk about this, or better yet, writing it up for us, we meet bi-weekly on Thursdays at 11 Eastern. And let's see, this is an off week. So like next week is a meeting. Yep, you can email us at HIPAA-challenges-coordinators@carc.org. And our two chairs are me and Jason Christopher. And
Thank
that's
you.
it.
Thanks so much. That brings us to the AI Facilitation Materials Working Group. And again, I hand it over to Tim Middelkoop.
Thank you. This is the AI Facilitations Materials Working Group. It's not to be confused with the AI Facilitations Interest Group. I'm a co-chair of the interest group along with Lauren Michael. We are RCD professionals interested in the facilitation of AI resources, AI ML resources, and we develop resources and training materials to help RCD professionals effectively facilitate the use of AI ML technologies. Our current activities include developing an AI taxonomy for RCD facilitators, developing example use cases across taxonomy and research domains for facilitating resources, curating lists of educational resources for learning AI ML resources for RCD professionals, and much more. And we have plans. If you're interested in contributing to the Facilitation Materials Working Group, we ask you to commit to attend the weekly meetings and to contribute to the development of materials outside the calls. We do give homework. Folks that are interested in general discussions are encouraged to join the AI Facilitation Interest Group. We periodically bring materials to the interest group for discussion and input. To join, contact Lauren or myself by going to the working group page, by following the link, or using this displayed code above.
Thank you so much, Tim. And that brings us to CARC Leadership and Operations. And I'm going to hand it over to Tom Cheatham to talk about the CARC chairs.
Yeah, howdy. I'm constantly amazed and astounded by the depth and breadth of the CARC activities and the commitment of the volunteers that work toward this. When CARC was formed, I became the interim chair, then got elected to a 2-year term. That's long since passed. I'm now acting chair effectively, and we'll see that will change in the future as the new transition board develops. But the way we do our governance is we have co-chairs or more of every group, basically in the track coordinators, working groups, interest groups, and we meet once or twice a month. Very flat governance structure, voting by general consensus. As long as no one's really upset about a direction we're going, we just move forward with that. So it's not really hierarchical in the normal sense. And, you know, chairs come and go, and that's a fine thing. It's been working well. Next slide. And we have a current advisory committee. This will also change with the transitional board activities that are going to occur. Do nominate yourself if you want to be involved with the transition activities. As Daphne mentioned, we really need some help there. And, you know, I really love working with all these people. As Daphne said, it's amazing the progress that we've seen over the last 7 years, I think it's been now, something like that. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, I think I think we're coming up on 9.
Oh, could be.
Yeah.
It shows you how old I'm getting.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tom. And that brings us to the CARC Engagement Operations Group. I am going to speak on their behalf because Chris Reedy and Julie Ma, who lead this group, both have other commitments today. The CARC Engagement Group, what we do is we partner with CARC leadership to try to develop strategies to grow and retain membership in the CARC institution. Some of the things that we have done as a group that you might be familiar with are the Coffee with CARC events that happen at supercomputing and PERC conferences. We do the Bring a Colleague to CARC campaign, which may have brought some of you here today. We do the CARC signs at the supercomputing booths. We do some volunteer acknowledgement and recognition. And we have a particular goal following the October retreat to increase engagement in non-R1 institutions. So that's going to be a big focus coming up in the next year for our group. And we work to facilitate consistent communication and create standardized documentation and marketing materials for CARC. We can use help from other folks. We would love to have some new members. So if you are someone who's interested in communications, outreach, engagement, any of those types of things, and want to help us help CARC grow, we would love to have your help. So please do reach out to either Chris Reedy or Julie Ma, who are the leaders. And this brings us to the CARC Logistics Operations Group. And I'm going to hand the baton to Dana Brunson from Internet 2. And she's going to close down this session. I'm sorry, we're going to be just a couple minutes over.
Yeah, so yeah, if you have to go, you can watch the recording later, so no pressure. But for the benefit of everyone who stays, so the CARC Logistics Operations Group is the small but mighty force that acts behind the scenes to make sure all of the groups and the people network and everybody has all the infrastructure they need and the support they need. So we handle all the Google infrastructure, the Google groups, the Drive, try to keep track of that. We monitor the website and make sure that stays going well. We help if you're interested in creating a new interest group or working group, we help onboard with I think 30-point checklist to get you involved in all the places. We're trying to develop just enough policies and practices to help the organization as it gets big and not unwieldy. So we also do things like have quarterly report outs from the groups where we help make sure that they're going well, and if they need help, we help them. So my co-chair is Lauren, and you can see the list of names. All of those people, I think, spoke today. So most of the members are chairs of other groups. So we have a pretty good spread of understanding across the groups and what they need. So if you're interested in joining this group, more the merrier. There's always a lot of work to do. And then I want to take us into just some remaining CARC efforts. And so the next slide, you've heard already about like the communications and the AI interest group. This came about from a grant that Daphne, Tim, Lauren, and I got last fall for CARC to help with the NAIR pilot communications outreach and community building. You already heard about that. But this is a cool thing that NSF did to acknowledge CARC and its ability to reach a broad audience of those important people who help researchers with technology. The next one is PERC. So, the People Network is the virtual year-round conference. Well, PERC is the non-virtual, I think we call it in-person annual conference. So if you haven't been to this and want to go to an in-person conference, this is the place to be. I think a lot of people in this group, I'd have you raise your hands, have supported and contributed to CARC. For PERC 25, Daphne and I are the general co-chairs. And let's see, I'm not going to name everybody. I see Jeffrey, I think Brian was here, Brian's still here, Eric is here. Lots of folks on the executive committee are here. Plus, I'm sure every single one of you has volunteered to be a reviewer. Shake your head, yes. So please, help make this a great event, and every year help it make a great event. And then lastly, or at least close to lastly, Nexus Day. We've been doing this a few years now with the RCD Nexus funding. We're going to continue it with Internet 2 funding to have a Nexus Day on the Sunday of PERC, where we bring lots of people together. There'll be details coming in the near future when we decide what the 2 workshops will be. And then finally, I will echo all the things Tom said about what a spectacular group of people. Thank you all for presenting today. It's just, I love getting to work with every single one of you. It's just amazing what we've been able to pull together, making all this happen and supporting the community. And with that, I think I will say, yay. Thank you all for attending. Thank you all for presenting. And please consider, bringing more colleagues to CARC. Thanks.